You know what's wild? There was a time when I was laughed at for pushing a rusty old wheelbarrow down a dusty street. Yeah, that happened. But today, the same people who mocked me, they're the ones who end up begging for scraps while I drive. Pass them in cars they'll never touch. Let me back up a sec and tell you how it all went down. The sun was blazing and I was pushing that heavy wheelbarrow loaded with scrap metal. My hands were raw and stinging, old slippers flapping on cracked pavement. I tried to stay focused, head down, just surviving the day. Then out of nowhere, a sleek Lexus pulled up and the laughter started. A sharp, mocking voice sliced through the air. My heart sank. There they were. Desmond, my ex, leaning on the car, and Trisha, his new girlfriend, the very woman who once wore my clothes, ate my food, and smiled like she cared. Desmond smirked and said, "Look what poverty's done to you," like it was some kind of joke. Trisha whipped out her phone, ready to share this moment to humiliate me further. A crowd started gathering, the jeers growing louder. Kids chanting, "Wheelbarrow girl! Wheelbarrow girl!" It was more than humiliation. It was a public execution of my dignity. But I said nothing. I gripped that wheelbarrow tighter and pushed forward, because if only they knew what was waiting just around the corner for me.
See, Desmond had once promised me the world. When my father was alive, he was the golden prince. But the moment my father passed and his properties got tied up in family drama, Desmond turned cold. Worse, Trisha, my friend since college, switched
sides, becoming the snake who stole my life, my love, and my future. I remember that day vividly. Just back from burying my father, who owned 5 filling stations and 2 transport companies, I thought maybe, just maybe, Desmond would be my rock. Instead, he opened his door with a bag in hand and said, "You're a liability now. You were useful when you had money, but now get out." Behind him stood Trisha, wearing one of my jackets, grinning like she'd won the jackpot. Betrayal cut deeper than any wound I'd known. I had nowhere to go. I slept at a bus stop, hugging my bag, cold and broken. Stray dogs prowled nearby. Men stared. I begged for water from a hawker. A woman who once cruised in luxury was now barely surviving. But I didn't break. That night, tears mixed with rain as I cried not for defeat, but for the fire growing inside me. I didn't just want revenge. I wanted to rise, to build something no one could take away. With nothing but determination and an old black phone full of blueprints, I dove headfirst into the world of mechanics. Sure, the roadside mechanics laughed. "What's a fine girl doing a man's work?" they said. But an old man named Babatundi saw something in me. He took me under his wing and I learned to weld, fix engines, and build from scraps. Meanwhile, Trisha was busy playing influencer, flashing fake smiles funded by Desmond's crumbling business. But the cracks showed. Audits, failing income, public scandals. I ignored their messages and threats. My first car was halfway done, a hybrid built from scrap, sweat, and stubborn genius. One rainy morning, pushing iron sheets through a downpour, I refused to quit. When Babatunde called me Engineer Amarachi, I felt reborn. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was fighting a silent war armed with steel and strategy. Months later, AMA Motors was born. Just a tin roof and broken tools at first, but it was mine. I kept quiet. No posts, no quotes, just work. The prototype rolled out, and even the police at checkpoints applauded. Poverty had punished me long. Enough. Now it was my turn to strike back. But Desmond and Trisha, they kept laughing, mocking me from borrowed cars and luxury spots I once paid for. Until one day I stopped running. I smiled at their mockery like a queen and let the rain wash away their laughter. Not me. The truth hit when an investor from Lagos saw the blueprint and believed. Together, we grew AMA Motors quietly but fiercely. We built cars tough enough for Nigerian roads, affordable, durable, and proudly Nigerian. Rumors flew, but no one could stop the storm I had become. No one knew the woman behind it. Then came the moment. Desmond, broken and desperate, showed up at my showroom begging for a job. I wore a suit that day, regal and cold. No pity, no anger, just the truth. "You laughed in my wheelbarrow," I told him. "Now you're here to beg. I'll think about it." And I left him with that. He came back as a cleaner, scrubbing floors, humbling himself for the first time in his life. But I wasn't cruel. I wanted him to understand what it means to rise from nothing, to rebuild with your own hands. Then Trisha showed up, bitter and begging for a chance. I played her the viral video she recorded of me being mocked, the same video playing in every showroom. She left humiliated, and the world saw her for what she was. The video exploded online. From wheelbarrow pusher to CEO. Hashtags trended. Talk shows dissected it. But this wasn't for fame. It was raw justice. Desmond's world fell apart for closure. Lost jobs, broken relationships. Trisha's influencer deals vanished. I watched from my office as they faded away, powerless. But I didn't stop building. I built cars for ordinary people, for women like the one who gave me food when I was starving, for those mocked and forgotten. Years later, I returned to that dusty village square, handing out keys to many delivery trucks to women who once pushed wheelbarrows. Tears flowed, prayers echoed, and the weight of my journey lifted like never before. I stood by my window at night, scarf tied like a crown, and wrote in my journal. They laughed, they mocked, they filmed, but today, they drive what I built. And me? I ride on purpose, powered by every insult they threw. At a national entrepreneurship summit, I shared my story. The video played, the crowd gasped. I warned, if you mock someone's struggle, beware, you might be kneeling before them tomorrow. In the VIP section, Desmond and Trisha sat frozen, exposed in front of thousands. The applause thundered, but I didn't gloat. True power sits in silence, watching the world bow. So now I ask you, what's your take? Is justice served when the broken rise to power? Or is revenge a bitter road with no winners? Drop your thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and let's talk. Because sometimes the hardest journeys teach the deepest lessons.